fails me. All my days I've been held in your hands. From the moment that I wake up until I lay my head, I will sing of the goodness of God.
Have you ever wondered who those people are who meet at 5051 Wilmington Pike every Sunday? Welcome to Cornerstone Church of Christ, where we meet every Sunday to bring glory to our God and to remember who we are. We're imperfect people on a mission together, following Jesus. At Cornerstone, our first and foremost purpose is to bring reverence and glory to God. And you'll see that when you spend time with us. We're from every walk of life, ordinary men and women who are just trying to raise our families. We want to serve and please our God. You'll find people of compassion who are eager to help and ready to love and serve. We just want to help you get home to heaven. We have asked some of our members of the church family to tell you why this place is so special.
We want a church that not only could we grow as Christians, but also, think about our daughters and our son.
I have grown and my mindset has expanded since I've been at Cornerstone.
It truly feels like we have family here.
We stay connected all week long in so many different ways.
I think it's more of what a church should be.
We feel at home.
I could go on and on about the Cornerstone Church of Christ and the difference that's being made here in the lives of so many people. But in reality, it's all about Jesus and the difference that He's making in every one of the people here at Cornerstone. We want you to check us out today on the web at cornerstone-coc.com, our live stream, or come by and be a part of one of our worship services. You'll be glad you did, and we want you to know there's always a warm welcome that awaits you here. If you're looking for a place to belong, if you're looking for a place to serve God and raise your family, if you're looking for a place where you can be changed into God's kind of person, then come check us out at the Cornerstone Church of Christ.
People everywhere are searching for answers and for meaning in their lives. Could the answer to our purpose be found in understanding who Jesus is? Letting Jesus be the model for how we are to live? The Bible gives us many examples of who Jesus was. Jesus walked among the sinners, healed the sick, comforted the brokenhearted, and offered hope to the weary. He carried the weight of our sins to the cross. On the third day, He rose from the dead, conquering death itself. Through His sacrifice, we find forgiveness and eternal life. He is our Redeemer, our Savior, our friend. He teaches us to love our neighbors, to forgive as we have been forgiven, and to find purpose in serving others. He is our hope in times of despair and our light in the darkest of days. No matter where you are on your journey, He is calling you with open arms. For Jesus is the way, the truth, and the life.
In a world filled with uncertainty, there is a timeless practice that has offered solace and guidance to millions throughout history: prayer. Prayer is not just a ritual. It's a profound connection to the divine, a conversation with God. In the Bible, we witness Jesus Himself seeking solace in prayer in the Garden of Gethsemane. In that moment of profound vulnerability, He demonstrates that prayer is a way to find strength in the face of adversity. The Apostle Paul reminds us that prayer allows us to cast our anxieties upon God, finding peace that surpasses understanding. As we journey through life, let us remember that prayer is a sacred conversation that provides strength, gratitude, forgiveness, compassion, and hope. It's an invitation to draw closer to God, to seek guidance, and to find inspiration in the midst of life's challenges. Let prayer be your beacon of hope and inspiration on life's journey.
See shalt love the Lord thy God with all of thy heart.
Have you ever wondered who those people are who meet at 5051 Wilmington Pike every Sunday? Welcome to Cornerstone Church of Christ, where we meet every Sunday to bring glory to our God and to remember who we are. We're imperfect people on a mission together, following Jesus. At Cornerstone, our first and foremost
Tell me whose side are you living on?
I'm living on the Lord's side.
Tell me whose side are you living on?
I'm living on the Lord's side. I'm a living on the Lord's side. I'm a living on the Lord's side.
Tell me whose side are you serving on?
I'm serving on the Lord's side.
Tell me whose side are you serving on?
I'm serving on the Lord's side. I'm a serving on the Lord's side. I'm serving on the Lord's side.
Tell me whose side are you singing on?
I'm singing on the Lord's side.
Tell me whose side.
Welcome to Your Pathway Home, a live and in-depth interactive Bible study that features your questions and feedback. It's a great way to start Sunday morning in the Word. Your hosts are Matthew Allen, Cody Pritt, and Jason Schofield, members of the Cornerstone Church of Christ. Now let's get going with today's installment of Your Pathway Home.
Well, good morning, everyone, and welcome to another Your Pathway Home this Sunday morning with Matthew Allen, Cody Pritt, and Jason Schofield. Gentlemen, how are you doing this morning?
Well, I'm doing great, and I'm excited about our discussion this morning. And I tell you, it is just exciting every time when you open up God's Word and you start seeing new things. And I know I'm growing from this study, Cody, and I'm looking forward to this. It's going to be another great Lord's Day.
Yeah, I'm looking in the comments. I see Vicky Mullins says, happy raining morning. That was the very first comment I said when coming in. I was like, man, I'm getting tired of this rain. So I'm praying for I'll even say it, I'm praying for snow. I'm praying for snow as long as it gets rid of the rain, man.
Well, so we had our trailer hooked up. We hauled some stuff yesterday, and I got back last night, and it was pouring down rain, and our yard is like a mud pit. And I just said, I'm not going to deal with this. So at 4:30 this morning, I'm out in the rain, unhooking the trailer in the mud, and it's enough to put you in a bad mood. You know? And
what I like about that, Cody, is he just breezes right over the story that he's driving through his yard
in the mud,
and
tearing it up,
and he just assumes everybody else drives through their yard.
Well, I'll have ruts in there till May, but This is the thing that makes me yearn for Arizona or Utah or somewhere like that where it's dry, But I decided when I got here this morning after I grumbled the gutters leak here at the office, and I had a bunch of stuff in my truck to get out, and it's pouring down rain, and then the gutters are pouring down between the eave and the gutter, and I just got soaking wet, and I was sitting there kind of grumbling, and I finally said, you know what, I am going to choose to be in a good mood today. Because this is enough to just make you ruin your day. So I said, nope, I'm not going to do it. It's the Lord's day. It's going to be great. And here we are.
I'm glad you're in a good mood, Matt. And I'm glad you said something about the gutters, because that reminds me, I probably need to clean mine out. I have not done that this year yet. And they're probably just getting all full and heavy. Oh, man. Now I'm like panicking. Anyway,
get it started, Joe.
Yeah, it'll be okay.
Anyway,
it'll be okay.
All right. From that, we're going to actually get back into the topic. If you recall, we're going through the entire. I think we're just going through Genesis or the entire book of the Bible. I'm not sure. I can't remember. But we started this year off trying to see Jesus throughout the scriptures, including the Old Testament and beginning in Genesis. Last week we had ended the story of Noah and the flood, and this week we're going to be starting in Babel. I think we're beginning in verse or chapter 11. Is that correct, gentlemen?
Genesis 11.
Okay. Well, before we do that, I do want to point out a couple things. A couple things in chapter I think it's 9 actually, when they leave the ark. So one thing is that God blesses them to multiply on the earth, like He did with Adam and Eve. So I think this is a general endorsement of God for flourishing and just mankind having a good, prosperous life. God wants good things for us. So that's one. But number 2 also, which includes flourishing, He actually gives them the first directive of that they can eat meat now. So that's definitely something that God endorses, and that is included in human flourishing and prosperity.
That's a beautiful thing.
Yeah, I think Matt
So I
has
just wanted to put that in
framed, and it's hanging up in his office, and yeah, that's definitely a chapter I appreciate.
I Becky and I ate some Italian food last night, and I always make sure I get meat. Whatever, I love pasta, but it's got to have meat. So
anyway, there's nothing wrong with being vegan or vegetarian too, but I just wanted to put that in there.
You said that, Cody. Not
well, no, but Cody, I think this is a good place to talk. Because we're in Genesis 11. We're going to be discussing Babel, like I said, 1 through 9. And this is a good place to start because this is a continuation, really, that Noah, or the time of God and Noah, when they had this, you ask, what's the point of all of this? Well, God wanted to restore a relationship with mankind that had been driven away by sin. He gave Noah and his sons the initiative that they needed to be repopulating the earth, and that He wanted a restoration of holy living. And Adam and Eve lived in purity, and now that was all severed thanks to the devil, thanks to the actions of mankind, and He wants a restoration of that. And now we're seeing that mankind's taking a turn for evil. And so we see God making changes here to keep His original goals here for mankind after the flood. So, Matt, why don't you take us through the story a little bit?
Well, I will. And since you guys have brought up Genesis with the end of Noah's flood, I just want to take you back for a second, back to Genesis 8, where they get out of the boat. And can you imagine the feeling of what it must have been after 6+ months of being on that vessel to step off of it and enter into a brand new world, pristine, clean, purified, free of sin, ready to go for a new start. It's a renewal. That to me is just amazing to give consideration to. And of course, as you go through Genesis 9, there's a covenant that's made, and then into chapter 10, we have a lot of genealogy here in Genesis. But by the time you get to chapter 11, we're a generation or two down the line, And the same problem has creeped back up. And it is sin, and it is rooted in selfishness. The focus is all on man. And that's really at the root of every sin. Sin takes the focus off of God, and it causes us to focus on ourselves and what we think is best and what we want, what we desire. We give into our own lusts. And that's really going on here, I think, when the Tower of Babel, guys, I think in a lot of regards in Genesis 11 has been reduced to a children's Bible story for a lot of us. We don't spend a lot of time on it. I can tell you in all of my years, I've hardly ever focused on this Bible story other than it happened, and this is where we get the many languages. And that's about it. And we move on to the next thing. But notice the first thing here, if you look in Genesis 11, the whole earth used the same language and the same words. And it says, as they came about to the east, they found a place in the land of Shinar and settled there. And they said, let us make bricks and burn them thoroughly. And they used brick for stone, and they used tar for mortar. So they perfect the art of making bricks and building buildings and become very good at that. And they said, let's build a city whose tower will reach into heaven. And let us make for ourselves a name. Otherwise, we'll be scattered abroad over the face of the whole earth. So as you read verse 4 of Genesis chapter 11, I want you to see some theological points here. And this is the theology of sin and what is rooted in sin. And I want you to see it is rooted in the propagation of self, the exaltation of self, where one's primary interest is his own concerns and the building up of one's name and the propagation of one's own personal glory and the belief in one's own personal power to be able to accomplish whatever he or she desires. And the idea that together we are better as one and we can do all of these amazing things ourselves. And what I want you to see in verse 4 of Genesis chapter 11 is an absence of God. God is nowhere in the picture here in this passage.
So you're exactly right, Matt. And this is, and every time man puts himself first or man puts himself over God or decides to lead his own life, it'll end up in a trauma or problem. And this reminds me of a phrase that I was sharing with you all this week that I have found, and I really think this is good. And I'm thinking this is one of those you write in the cover of your Bible, but it says, mankind is not to find joy in being praised, but in praising him. And so it's just about who's the priority, who's being put first. And like you're saying here, at the time of Babel, when this is taking place, they were starting to put themselves first.
Yeah, and so, when you think about, and as I was doing that description here a moment ago, what was going through my mind is the time that we live in now, right now, with
a lot of parallels.
There's so many parallels.
Yes,
and so much of our entertainment and in what we're seeing come across the culture, God is gone. He's nowhere in the picture. And I don't do a lot of TV watching anymore. And when I do, though, it's a lot of just Netflix stuff. And I can get kind of caught into stuff if I'm not careful. But there's a series that was on a few years ago that I've really enjoyed. But the thing that distresses me is I like it because I like the drama in it. But this one particular show. But God is nowhere. Mm-hmm. He is nowhere in the picture.
Yeah.
And you see the tragedy of that in how these families' lives play out. And sadly, that is the case in so many parts of our own time.
Yeah.
And so we need to see the theology that's in this story. And we're going to talk about that a little bit today as we go on. Maybe next week, depends on how far we get today. So they want to build this tower, the record says, that it's going to reach into heaven. Verse 5 says that God came down to see the city and what everyone was doing. And God says they're one people. They have all the same language. And this is what they began to do. And now nothing which they propose to do will be impossible for them. Come, let us, and the us there obviously is capitalized in my Bible version, probably is for yours as well. So it's the Godhead here. It's the Spirit, it's Jesus and the Father. And they make a determination here to confuse the language so they will not understand one another's speech, and God scatters them from abroad and sends them all over the face of the earth, where they stopped building the city. And so the place became known as Babel, or confusion is the root of that word, because the Lord confused the language of the whole earth, and from there God scattered them abroad over the face of the whole earth.
All right, so no, Matt, you just burned through some things that are just really heavy.
Yeah, because, I was going to say I want to discuss some
let's talk about some things. So first of all, we're talking about bringing out Jesus in every story of the Bible, or every account. So forgive me when I say the word story. That's my problem, but these are real things that really happened. And when he says, let us, like you said, you should automatically think back in Genesis during the creation story. What did he say? Let us
make
do
man.
this. Yeah, make man. And so the Godhead here has worked in harmony from the beginning. The other thing here is there's a little bit of a play on words, if you would, but I don't think it's by mistake. I've heard different theologies on what they were trying to accomplish. Honestly, I don't think they were trying to impress God. Mm-mm. They were trying to create.
Yeah, God's not in the picture at all.
Right. They were, so when people say they were trying to build to the heavens, I think the thought there is they were just wanting the tallest building in the world type thing. They were just wanting to make a momentous or something very noticeable, something very great, in the sight of man, because it was trying to build up their prestige in man. But notice that it says that God came down. So it didn't matter how tall this vessel or whatever this thing is, tower or structure edifice was. Yeah, it was nothing when it came to God, because he still came down to it. And so a little bit of a play on words there, but I think it just shows that God is always greater than anything man can ever conjure.
Yeah.
And that can't be missed in this story.
Yeah, so I want to get to a couple of comments here. So Boyd on Facebook says, does not AI kind of give us one universal language and give us the idea that now nothing can stop us? I think there's a little bit of a truth to that maybe, but at the same time, I don't think that necessarily a universal language or a unity of the globe is inherently evil. I think it was the purposes of what they were doing with it, like Matt was pointing out, that God was completely absent from their hearts, their minds, and their intentions of what they were doing. And in fact, I would even say unity is almost the purpose of the greater plan, where when Jesus comes down and then he creates his kingdom, he actually wants unity. He wants everyone to be one and to agree and to become loving and have communion together. So I do think that's one thing. So I'm not trying to totally deny that claim there. I think there is a propensity in man's nature when we are, I guess, completely unified, that we have a tendency to forget God. As long as we keep God where God's supposed to be, I actually think unity is a very beautiful thing.
If you study the history of what's actually going on with mankind at this time, one of the things that I thought was really interesting is what God looked at here. And when he's seen in Genesis chapter 11 and verse 6 that Matt just read, is God realized that going this way, things are only going to get worse. And notice, though, even with all the evil that was going on in this day, and I can talk about a little bit of that, through history, but all the evil is going on, God still never compared them to the time of Noah, where he said that even the very thought of mankind everywhere was evil continuously. He never said
didn't get to that level.
But at this time, this is a time where they were, offering their children in burnt sacrifice to Moloch. Yeah. So this is an evil time, and I tell you, there was some disgusting, horrible things that they were doing that I don't even think are appropriate to bring up on air that I shared with these gentlemen that I had read, and it is just to say that mankind had became quite corrupt. And so this building of the tower was just kind of the straw that broke the camel's back for God.
Mm-hmm.
He's like, all right, this is it.
Well,
this is not going to go anywhere good, and I am not going to let it get to the time of Noah.
I think
Yes,
you can
yes,
just
exactly.
easily summarize this. It's just the height of pagan idolatry.
Right.
Yes. Yeah.
And everything that's associated with that. So you can take your mind wherever you need to go there to get that. But it's pagan idolatry and all. I mean, look, Babylon. Those terms became synonymous as you go through biblical history as being associated, and actually it's even, as we're going to talk probably in some of our application points, associated with Revelation and the ultimate judgment that comes. But as evil, Babylon has kind of taken on that connotation, and so there's a lot of stuff going on here, and I think Jason's point to the fact that God is attempting here to restrain, to hold back, to keep things from going down the same road. And see, that's the problem.
I think that's a perfect point.
Yeah, I that's the problem with every sin. All right, God warns us that you don't just stop at one. Mm-hmm. It always builds and leads to something else. And that's why, as Christians, we have been called to try to avoid sin at every possible way. Now, it is inevitable that we are sinful creatures and have the flesh and give in to this, but when you pursue a lifestyle of sin, there's no end. There's no end where that's going to take you, and it's going to. And look, all you got to do is look around and see the wreckage of the lives of people that have pursued sin, and where it takes them. And so these lessons, I think, remain very relevant for our own time.
Yeah. So, I wanted to also get to the comment that Shannon King had on YouTube, because I think it ties into this very well. He said,
we're watching you guys on YouTube today and Facebook.
Yes, and Shannon says, I like the fact that we brought up that God is always wanting to restore the relationship with us, and he makes us feel, it makes me feel better about you kind of see the patterns in the Old Testament that talks about kind of not only God's nature and how he acts with human beings, but also how human beings' nature is very sinful, and that we go through these repeated processes. So we already kind of talked about how God handled each situation a little bit differently. Back in Noah's time, it got so out of hand where he had to have like a reset button. But here he's actually pattern interrupting before it gets to that point already. So we kind of see God's mercy and God's love for humankind, and he's really trying to do everything he can to keep them from themselves, keep them from corrupting themselves, while also loving him. He wants that relationship to happen. It's a loving God, even in the Old Testament. I know a lot of people kind of preach and tout the judgment, brimstone, hellfire. God's a justice and righteous God, and he is, but he's not all damning. So
Cody, I love that phrase you said, pattern interrupting.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's your phrase, but that is exactly right.
He's going to trademark that. You better hold on to that.
And so, Shannon, can't you see here God's patience towards mankind's salvation? And I think that's what you're pointing out. And can't you see his commitment to our soul? And so when we talk about God's commitment and patience towards us and that wanting of that restoration of a relationship, that's a far different picture than what some people want to paint of this God that wants to strike you down with lightning when you err. This is a restoring God. This is a God that is wanting to bring people together. And it's interesting that the term Babel, and Matt used the word confusion. I actually like the term confound. I'm not trying to play the game of logistical terminology. Semantics. However, the word confound basically means put a stumbling block or make more difficult. So he didn't say, man, you can't sin. And obviously, even mankind, when they went throughout the world, they didn't suddenly stop sinning. Okay, but he made it a whole lot more difficult for them to work together in their evil devices. So he confounded it. And so this is God still allowing the free will of mankind, but yet, like you said, he did some pattern interrupting.
Yeah.
And he said from the beginning that, through mankind, he was going to interrupt that process. Yes. Galatians chapter 3, verse 15.
Yeah.
And that brings in Jesus. Once again, he pattern interrupted. I like that.
Yep. So continuing on, Matt, do you have the verses, or Jason, what do you guys want to do?
Well, yeah, we got through the story, and I think we should probably move forward and talk a little bit about, and we already kind of have been doing this as far as what's in this for us. And we sat here for an hour before we went on the air this morning, and we filled up a whole notebook here, ledger paper of things that can really pull out of this. And there's just a lot.
So one of the things I see, Matt, all of us are so different, and every one of us have unique skills and abilities. And I know we've talked about this sort of thing before. And these people here were making a name for themselves, or had made a name for themselves, and they wanted it to be bigger, but they had a unique skill. Their skill was they were able to make this brick, and I don't know if bricks were ever made before this point or whatever, but something was unique about it that they thought, we're going to get bigger and better with this. And they went about it and they did it. So you take something like that, and they didn't use it to glorify God. They used it to glorify themselves. And so I would ask each one of us to reach within ourselves and say, okay, what unique gift do you have? What ability has God blessed you with? And are you using that to his glory, or are you using it for your glory? If you're using it for any other purpose than to glorify God, then you're going right down the same path here that the people of Babel did.
Yeah.
Well, it's interesting to think about the talents and abilities that we have, and God has blessed so many of us with so many things, and there's a lot of people. I just look at the various people in the Cornerstone Church that have all these wonderful talents and abilities and things that they can do that I'm not blessed with, but they are. And I think the wonderful thing is it's kind of this weaving together of all of us working together, but it's always about God. It's never about us. Peter in 1 Peter chapter 4 verse 10 talks about there are gifts of service and there are gifts of speaking. But his point there is that all of those things be used for the glory of God. And so it's never about us as we do the things that we do inside the kingdom. It's always about God, bringing him glory, serving him out of thankfulness and gratefulness for what he's done for us.
Yeah.
What we see here in the Genesis text is a group of people that have totally walked away. It's all on them. It's all about them. And God will always humble situations that come up like that. There's a passage in 1 Corinthians chapter 10 in verse 12. Therefore, to him who thinks he stands, take heed lest he fall. And I think there are always moments and situations that come up where we think as a society, culture, people, nation, that we've got it, we're amazing, look at us. And there are moments that God will work through to humble a people and bring them back to a sense of reality and dependence upon him. And look, I look at our country right now, and I see things where we probably as a nation need to be humbled and brought back to a place where we depend on God. And I'm not excited about that because it's usually involves
painful,
hard times, suffering, and difficulty. But those are the moments where the dependence on God shines, and that's where you have to learn that. And so I think for our own time, look, Wes mentioned AI, and the way this comment section comes up on Facebook, it's hard for me to read on the screen, so I can't really see what he said. But he mentioned AI, and I think Boyd did too. But look, that's a cool thing. I'm using it more and more for various things, and it saves a tremendous amount of time. And I'm seeing how people are putting it to work in various ways, and it's amazing. But and believe me, that can be used for evil, and there's a lot of fear out there for that. But there's also a tremendous potential for good, as with anything. Yeah. And so the choice is we got to choose what's right. Use the tools that we are blessed with while we have them. There may come a time where all of this just goes away. Yeah. And if it happens, it's going to be painful. Yeah. But God will still be God. We will still be his people, and he will still take care of us. And so the focus has always got to be on him.
I was going to say, I think you pretty much hit what Wes was talking about. He's saying that AI, as much with anything, is a tool, like you said, to use for you can use it for evil or for good. And we need to remember God when we're on our, pursuit or path of betterment of ourselves or trying to help our fellow man. We can't forget who gave us the gifts in the first place and what they should be used for. As Greg also commented on Facebook, he said he mentions James chapter 1, 17 and 18, talking about that every good thing was bestowed and every perfect gift is from above, coming down from the Father of lights, with whom there is no variation or shifting shadow. So everything ultimately comes from God, even life itself. And I think that we see in these recurring patterns, when we start to devalue life, the gift that God has given us, that is life, then we start sacrificing and devaluing that. That's when I think he comes and intervenes, either through other people coming in and conquering, or here in the story of Babel, he causes the separations of languages and things like that. So I think that's what we need to identify, the patterns and what to learn out of these Old Testament story accounts rather.
So when we talk about this, we often talk about the separation.
Yes,
but I want us to look at this as really something that God did to unite, not separate. Okay. He separated the people, but he united the people in another way, and he united them with him in another way. So if you look on through, we're in Genesis chapter 11, but it picks up after verse 9. It starts talking about what? Lineage. In chapter 12, it is lineage. And this is God establishing our lineage through Abraham. And why would you establish it through Abraham? Because God made promises to Abraham, and it's through those promises that we find our salvation. You see the act or the plan of God's salvation to save mankind taking place right here at Babel. Yep. This is God carrying out his plan. He didn't allow mankind to stifle his plan. He's always used evil of mankind, or been able to use the evil of mankind in his gain. So it doesn't matter how bad things will get, God can still bring it together, despite how bad man has gone the other direction.
Yeah, you think about the spiritual viewpoint that we need to have. You see it here. God is not going to let anything deter his purpose. The things are going to be leading up to Abraham, and ultimately we're still on the pathway to Christ. God cannot be thwarted, or will not be thwarted, by anything that his creation does. God is in control. God always is true to his mission. And again, so I was in a conversation with someone yesterday, and we were talking about this year, 2024, and what's going on with our country. And I think the prevailing attitude that I don't talk to everybody, obviously, but I've talked to a lot of people, and I think there's a prevailing attitude across the board that there's some big, ugly things that may happen this year in our country.
Absolutely.
and we don't know what it's going to be. It could be a terrorist attack. It could be who knows what, economic collapse. I don't know, but the prevailing feeling in the back of everybody's mind is something doom is on the horizon. Well, what if it happens? Okay, what if it comes about? What if it's something that's life altering? What if it's something that just changes the whole way we look at life and our family and our culture? If something like that were to come about, I want us to all remember, we have to remember in those moments, God is still in control.
Yes.
He is still there. He is still enacting and moving according to His plans and His purposes. And we need to, there's all sorts of passages that I'm actually going to preach on it later this morning about how God provides comfort during those times of trouble to strengthen our dependence upon Him, to heighten our hope of heaven, and to wean us off dependency of the world.
Yes. Man, that's awesome.
And so if you think about what we're dealing with, and there's nothing that's going to stop God from accomplishing His purposes. And so I don't know what's coming. I hope, look, Paul told Timothy to pray for tranquility and peace, and that the world would be able to, because look, the gospel spreads in those times.
Yes, it does.
We can't even dig into that, because of time.
I was going to say,
it's absolutely.
I'm upset you made this point so late, but man, it is a point well taken, Matt. Yeah. Even just in recent history, we go as short as 3 to 4 years ago. We have the pandemic that went out. And I will say, man, I'm glad that sort of happened, because it gave us a wake-up call onto what is important, and having the spiritual more focused on us, because let me tell you, it not only rocked the world, but it rocked the church.
We were woefully unprepared for what transpired. Look, how many churches? I was at a conference yesterday. A number of Christians from around the country gathered together. And there are still people talking about, we are still in recovery mode from the pandemic as a church.
Yeah,
so that's ridiculous.
And we need to learn from that.
But I'm saying, what I'm saying is, it's sad. I mean, there are a lot of churches that really are, but it exposed us for how unprepared we were for that. And what it should do is,
it shouldn't even have been a bump in the road, Matt.
Yeah. It should heighten us, our readiness and really our being prepared, because look, I think there's things coming that may be far worse than a pandemic.
Yeah.
And I
are
think
we as Christians prepared for that?
I think I want to make this one point really quick, because I think what the pandemic exposed, and I apologize if this hits a chord or if people get offensive to this, but I think it exposed the weakness of the church and the dependency of God in tumultuous situations. I really do. And Nathan wrote in on not Facebook, YouTube on this. I don't know if this was actually a couple minutes ago, so it's kind of fortuitous, but he said in Luke 14, chapter 25 through 33, it talks about the spiritual accounting is the point. And when we lose that focus, we don't have a foundation of stability of anything. So if we don't have our spiritual matters in order, then anything that happens in the world, in the physical realm, will throw us into a whole shifting of collapse. It's like that the whole parable of building your house on the rock rather than the sand. It comes into play in reality. Go ahead, Jason, and then we got to finish up the program.
I just feel like that we've taught this story over the years, like God's the troublemaker here.
Yeah.
That God
he
had
the solution.
That's right. He has just confounded everybody and just spread them all over the world, and now they can't even talk to each other. And we've made it look like, well, this is what happens to you. This is your punishment. I'm going to say something. God never killed anybody on the days of Noah. It was the evil of mankind that caused them to drown on the waters that covered this earth. And the only thing that scattered these people right here was their own pride. And what pride destroyed and separated, God will unite. And we're going to see that as we continue our discussion next week, that God will pull this together. This is all part of God's plan. Yeah. And like Matt says, God's plan will not be thwarted by I like the term, Matt, I like it better when you say it, but it cannot be thwarted by man or any of his evil devices. So we're thankful that you joined us today on your pathway home. We hope you join us each week. We hope you take a moment to like and share this. We hope to see you in person one day at 5051 Wilmington Pike. Get on our website, check out some of our resources. Connect with us. There's emails on there as well. You can message us, ask your questions. We're not trying to ignore any ideas you have, but this year we are trying to take a walk through the Bible and take a new and fresh look at some of the passages that we've studied and said, how does this apply to me? And where is Christ in this? Because the whole Bible tells one story, and that's about this God's plan of salvation for mankind through Jesus Christ. And we're thankful that you joined us today in that discussion.
God is always working. And
That's right.
We're his people, and we need to be loyal to him come no matter what. So, guys, I won't be here with you next week. I'm going to be down in Tennessee, and so y'all will have somebody, a mystery guest.
Yes,
here
we'll figure it out
on the broadcast next Sunday morning. But hope all of you have a good week. Come see us at Cornerstone this morning. We'd love to have you. 9:30, 10:45 here at the Cornerstone Church. Watch us on live stream, or better yet, come see us in person.
Well, guys, see you next week or see you then.
All right. God bless.
She's filming, I'm photoing.
You have been watching Your Pathway Home, a work of the Cornerstone Church of Christ. To learn more about Cornerstone, visit our website at cornerstone-coc.com. There you can learn more about planning your visit, taking your next steps in coming to Christ, learn about our Bible classes, and so much more. When you visit Cornerstone, you'll receive a warm welcome, and we'll be happy to make you feel right at home. We'll see you again next time on another episode of Your Pathway Home.
Eternal Father, strong to save, whose arm hath bound the restless wave, who bids the mighty ocean deep its own appointed limits keep. Oh, hear us when we cry to thee for those in peril. See